Hi, I'm Christian Guzman, and I approve of the Board Shorts and Banter podcast.
What is going on, guys? Welcome to the Board Shorts and Banter podcast. We have a very special episode today with a very special guest. We have got Eminem joining us. Shout out to my boy Slim Shady. No, I'm joking. It is Charlie Brisbourne, my boy, fresh out of prep and fresh from the worlds. Charlie, how you doing?
Very good, mate. Very, very good. Got back from the Worlds on Friday. Today's obviously Monday, so I had a few days to adjust. Today's first day back, kind of properly working with clients. But yeah, I feel fresh. Obviously, had a few days in New York after the Worlds in Boston, so topped the calorie tank back up.
Well, oh, did you?
Oh yeah. So no, I feel good. I feel really, really good.
Oh dear. Hi Tom, how are you?
I'm good, mate. Thank you very much. It's nice to see that you boys were on time today for the podcast. You know,
I am never late, right? Yeah. Tom messaged me. He was like, "Oh, I'm running a little bit late. I'm locked out of my own house."
Technically, it's not my house, you see, so I don't have a key, and that's the issue. But we navigated it, and we're here now. So very, very excited. But I was literally about to say, like, if you was going to intro Charlie as like Eminem or like Slim Shady, then I was going to be like thoroughly disappointed.
I've got to decide what to do with this now. Like, have I got to maintain it? Have I got to shave it off because it's getting that yellow tinge that
it is going slightly yellow.
I think you should top it up, mate. What have the client said about it?
It's not been as bad, the feedback, as what I thought it would be, but it's a lot of maintenance, like fancy shampoo. There's a lot that goes into it, so I don't know if I'm up for that kind of admin in my life.
That's the thing. Like, you are Mr. Efficiency. You don't want to be messing around in the shower any longer than what you normally do.
No, exactly. So yeah, we'll see. I feel like I should just shave it off, but then I think people are going to think I'm going like full Britney after the Worlds and just lost the plot. So
we'll see. Life has no purpose.
Yeah. Exactly. So we'll see. We shall see.
I love it. What's how are you feeling now post prep? What's the general feeling?
Physically or mentally?
Mentally,
like, I was in a really good place going into the Worlds because I was very much looking forward to the competition. I was excited for it, but I was excited and looking forward to the aftermath and kind of ticking it off and saying, right, turn the page on that, onto kind of new things, which I think is a really healthy place to be mentally. Because if you are just fantasizing about the prep being over, then you've obviously not been enjoying the process of doing it. And then it's kind of like, well, what's the point? And
yeah,
if you're putting too much importance on the competition and you're just buzzing for that, you're going to be in a real sticky position after the prep. So
that's right.
It was a really nice place to be. And I mean, I have to give credit to Josh, obviously, for playing his part in managing that side of things as well and working with me on it. So yeah, I feel as good and as stable as I can be, I suppose, out the back of it. So yeah, in a good place.
I love it. That's obviously people have probably seen a lot of you on, following your prep. Maybe they listen to the podcast, now they follow you, etc. But I think it's good then to reel it all the way back before prep, all this kind of stuff, and kind of talk about you and your journey and how you got into things. Because obviously we know you as you right now, but I want to know, even me, like I want to know a bit more about you and like your history. So where did getting into bodybuilding or men's physique, if you can even call it bodybuilding, start for you, mate?
I was just saying to Josh before you hopped on, like it works out 20 years since I got like my first set of dumbbells for my 13th birthday. And we're talking about an era where no social media, no men's physique. Like I literally stuffed my dumbbells and my protein powder under my bed because at that point, obviously being in school, it just wasn't a cool thing. like, and it was almost like a dirty little secret, like that's what I used to. Yeah. There was like, I can remember like getting changed in like the changing rooms at school and having like the beginnings of like a six pack, and people being like, "Oh my god, what is that?" Like, that's cool, a bit weird, but we're not really sure how to kind of take it. Like, it definitely wasn't like a on trend thing back then. But yeah, I got into it because I was playing football kind of at a relatively good level at that age, and my family, my dad, we come from like a run of small farmers and jockeys, so we're never like going to be blessed vertically. Like, I'm only 5'7", and playing football and kind of trying to get to the next level with it. It was apparent that like I was never going to be a monster, not kind of in height anyway. So I was like, right, what can I do here to improve my chances? So got into training at that point. As I got more into it, football became less of a priority, and I just kind of liked the idea of the fact it was all down to you individually. Whereas like team sport, like you could do a really good job of what you want to do, but if someone else fucks up, well, what's the point?
That was me. That was me, right? I was the guy on the team, like playing football or any sports when I was younger. Like, I was the guy that fucked up, and everyone was like dragging me through the mud. You know, that was me.
That's pretty much, and then that's transitioned into this podcast, hasn't it, Tom?
Literally, yeah. I'm always late and always just, you're just
So unorganised.
carrying the team, mate. That's all it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I very much kind of thrived on it being kind of an individual pursuit, and I ultimately felt better about myself, self-esteem wise, confidence, all that kind of good stuff, as I kind of built my physique more. And then competition wise, I got into men's physique. What would it have been? I think it was the year after Ryan Terry did his first men's physique show. And I think that was the first year it was even a thing. So 2014. Yeah, because it works out like a 10-year run that I've had competing, but intermittently over that 10 years.
Fucking hell.
So yeah,
So you're a true OG, aren't you, to the board shorts?
Yeah, and then obviously I had a couple of years where I was kind of had a bit of an identity crisis between the board shorts and the budgie smugglers, and went into natural bodybuilding. That was at a point where kind of men's physique was really even more murky than it is now, in terms of like, right, how big's too big, how lean's too lean. And I'd got some kind of consistent feedback of, oh, you should try bodybuilding. You're a little bit big for the sake of what we want in men's physique. This was back when UK DFBA were the only guys that were putting on any kind of natural men's physique shows. So I was kind of like, right, well, if that's the only direction I've got to move with this, then I've got to kind of take their guidance on where to go. And I enjoyed the bodybuilding. Like, I went and had some decent success with it. I got to kind of second in the UK, I think, was the best I'd kind of done with the NPA. But much like it is now with natural bodybuilding, like you do have to get to that next level of conditioning everywhere to be competitive at the top level. Like, there is no room for fat on your glutes, or just, fat anywhere for that matter. And when I kind of realized, okay, right, it's going to get to a point where I'm in a bit of a competitive dieting competition, I didn't really have the kind of want to do it to that degree. And for me, it's definitely like legs and glutes that are the last thing to lean up. I'll lean up relatively quickly where my torso is concerned. So that's why kind of men's physique is just that little bit easier going for me physically. And then, yeah, I'd seen Josh's success in what year were you? 2021, wasn't it?
2021, yeah.
Yeah, I remember seeing Josh and Harry Ranson, who obviously had done well. And I remember seeing these boys and thinking, these boys they're not small. They've got some size on them. What's going on here? And that was when WNBF first came into the UK, I think, at that point. and then had some back and forth with Josh to get his opinion on where I was at and if potentially the criteria had changed a bit and if there was another avenue to go back into men's physique. That's what took me into 2022. And then obviously the rest is history. If we go through all my competitive history, then we'll be here a fucking long time, to be honest. Like,
How many shows do you reckon you've done?
I would say it works out probably just under, it must be 20 at this point. But that's between UKBFF, UKUP, which I know Tom's a big hitter in that
Advocate.
world.
Yeah.
But that was back in
the president.
That was in 2016 maybe? Like one of the first years they did it. The BNBF, I've been and done that. The UK DFBA, the WNBF. It might be one more. But yeah.
You're such a slag. PCA.
Yeah. PCA, yeah. Just kept trying to find a federation that fitted.
Do you like me?
Yeah, but like we've talked about, obviously, as the criteria kind of changes as the years go on, like sometimes then it will make sense to go and see, right, well, where do you fit within another federation? Even if it's not kind of fully drug tested, then as a natty, it's interesting to go and see where you fall. That's where PCA was interesting this year. And I look forward to seeing what those guys do, obviously, with the natty side of that. I'll try not to be tempted back into it by them, because I think they will be some really good shows. But yeah, I have been thoroughly around the block over the last 10 years.
I feel like there's going to be a lot more temptation going forward for you as well, mate.
Yeah, I do.
Especially with what we see happening with like IFBB.
Yeah, I've seen like some guys that have obviously gone down that route, and it does seem like the IFBB are kind of opening a door to the best natural guys to say, come on then, come and give it a go. But with that said, and I think this is kind of relevant to kind of what went on at the Worlds as well for me, like you have to kind of understand that, right, at that level, you've got to be kind of like a 10 out of 10 when it comes to muscularity, a 10 out of 10 when it comes to conditioning, and really, truly a 10 out of 10 when it comes to like genetics and your structure and your makeup. So on one hand, yes, there is some level of temptation, but trust me, it's not anything that I'm worried about kind of falling back into anytime soon. So yeah.
It's bodybuilding, mate. There's no rush to it at all, is there?
Yeah.
No.
You're not just going to stop training and stuff like that. So there's no rush to it.
Well, this is it.
I'm sure like people will pick things up about Charlie as well with this podcast, but Charlie's the most black and white person, unemotional, just straight up like, does this make sense? Oh, my heart says this, my head says this. There's none of that. It's just, I'm doing this or I'm not doing this. And if you don't want to compete, you won't compete. There's not going to be any kind of like, oh, but this looks good, that looks good. Oh, I might do really well with this federation, whatever. I don't think you've got that bone in your body. It's just straight black and white. Do I want to do it? Does it align? No. Or yes, and then you will do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that. I think after, like I say, training for 20 years, competing for 10, like you kind of know what you want out of competing if you do want to go down that route at any point or again. Being 30, 33, 33, 34 next year. Like there's not really much room for being flimsy and iffing and butting and umming and ahhing. Like I've got plenty I've got to manage, whether that's like my little one, my kind of business side of things. And yeah, there's no room for being flimsy.
There's no room at all. You touched on it a tiny bit, but on a business front, what is it that you do?
So I've been a one-to-one PT I started when I was at university, so that makes that, about 11 years? 11 to 12 years? So that's from like working in a university gym, Virgin Active I worked in for not a very long stint because I realised what a con that is, and then started Brisbourne Fit and worked self-employed from that point. I was down in Essex at that point in Brentwood, and that was obviously a really good place to be for the sake of all the TOWIE stuff and whatever going on. There was no shortage of people that obviously wanted to get in shape, even though most of them, it was like, right, they wanted to go to Ibiza and thought they could just jump on a bit of Winstrol and Anavar and that would sort it out. So there was quite a bit of trying to re-educate going on, which is why my tagline's always been like, I educate, we execute, you achieve. Right. So yeah, I was down there for 5 years, and I started working with clients online at that point as well, when working with clients online wasn't really a massive thing. Apps and whatever for coaching weren't a thing. It was like, I remember my first online client, I literally sent his plan out in the post, and on a printout in a plastic wallet. And that began the kind of online coaching side of things. And since then, I've kind of run things alongside each other. So I kind of have a nice blend of one-to-one and online coaching. Moved back up to Shropshire, where I'm from, in 2018, I think it was. And then built a gym at home, essentially, so I can kind of work from home with clients, as well as, like I say, my online side of things as well. Like I've always said, I've never coached anybody else to compete. It's never really been in my ballpark. I think the amount that's got to go into a prep client is more so than what's got to go into a Gen Pop type of client. And let's face it, like a lot of people that want to compete or are in that world, there's a lot of, what words should I use? There's a lot of people that are kind of an inch away from an eating disorder, a physique dysmorphia disorder, a bad drug habit. There's a lot that you could be contending with, or you might be the difference between tipping them over the edge on one of those things. And I don't need that kind of responsibility in my life. I'd much rather work with people that just want to get a bit less fat, a little bit more muscular, and generally be able to kind of tie their shoelaces a bit easier, run after their kids, all that kind of thing. So yeah, that's very much where I lean more into when it comes to my business anyway.
Yeah, prep is definitely, I'd say it's definitely for a certain type of individual, for sure. And I feel like on social media, again, on preps, you're going to see the highlights from people's preps, aren't you? You're not going to see the struggles behind the scenes with, like, a lot of people that you see prepping online, maybe that are slightly have a more popular following, they could even have an eating disorder that they're not sharing. But because it's glorified, because it's made out to be this glamorous thing, because obviously everyone's going to show their best light on Instagram or any social media platform, so you don't see the actual prep itself. And a lot of people then see that and it's glorified and they want to get on that, they want to experience that, but it's not for everyone. And I feel like this is why, like, a lot of people's preps, they fail. They don't actually even end up making it to the stage, because it is hard and it is for that specific type of individual. And I think an individual like you, someone that is a little bit black and white, can separate the emotion from things and see things for how they are. So yeah, like, you definitely do need to be selective with who, like, almost like a bit of a vetting process of, like, if someone comes to you and they want to prep, you need to really ask them why, like what their intentions are, the reasons why they want to do it, not just because it's like, something fun and they want to box off and it looks like it's cool,
Absolutely. I think you can have the difficulty, though, of, like, you might look at someone, and I've definitely seen this before, where I've looked at someone who's inquired with me and thought, you've got fantastic genetics that you could do really, really well. But mentally, you're not there. Like, you're an inch away from one of those disorders, and I'm not willing to be part of you tipping over the edge, even if I think, genetically you could do really well. And on the flip side, you can have someone that you think, fucking hell, you're a 2 out of 10 genetics. You're never going to get to the level that you say you want to get to. However hard you work and however solid your mindset is, it's just not going to happen. And trying to manage people's expectations is a really kind of, it's one of the challenges you have with coaching anybody, whether they are an average Alice who wants to just lose weight for her wedding, or a guy who's 21 and wants a pro card. Like, but such is coaching, I guess. It just depends which type of battles you want to pick with people. But if you're honest and if you're a good coach, then you should be able to manage that to some degree. But yeah, the coaching competitors, obviously, I admire you guys for doing it how you've done it, and I'm sure there's great satisfaction that you take from working with the right clients. But that is absolutely it, picking the right clients. And
Yeah.
if you can do that, then happy days.
Yeah. I think especially like in the coaching world now, you almost need to be seen as having, X amount of, let's say, 20 competitive clients every year, when really you should be trying to have as little as possible. And the people that you do put on stage, they're obviously the right physique and the right mindset for it. Yeah, it's a very, very tricky thing to navigate. Like when I transitioned from like PT and working with like Gen Pop clients to more bodybuilding clients, it was like starting a new job, like completely different variables to focus on. Like the mindset thing, it was you was looking for a completely different mindset in each individual. It was a pretty crazy transition initially. Like so much more work to do. Like no offense, Charlie, your job's easy, bro. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Like, and I think the other thing is like, sometimes I've seen it with like inquiries I've had where I just get that kind of feeling someone that wants to compete is looking to kind of fill a gap in their life that they shouldn't be looking to fill with like getting on stage in their pants, competing for metal. Like it's not going to kind of make you a vastly better person or really give you that much more value individually. Like if you're a bit unhinged and a bit of a prick before you start competing, like going and competing is only going to kind of exacerbate that. A bit like alcohol. So getting to kind of grips with like who you are and what you're all about, and really kind of being stable before going down the route of something like a prep is really important. So again, it's up to you guys to try and figure that out with people when they inquire with you, and then figure out what you kind of advise and whether you decide to work with them or not.
Absolutely.
100%. What was you like after your first prep, Charlie? If you can remember, how did you cope with things after it?
I remember it well because at that point I had no comprehension of natural bodybuilding. Like I genuinely thought everybody I was on stage against, like I thought like drugs were like a Hollywood thing or like NFL top level sport type thing. I didn't think it was like a recreational kind of thing that the average person was doing. So I remember doing like my first couple of UK BFF shows. I think the first show I did, I came fourth, got a bit of feedback, and then went to a show a couple of weeks later and won. That was a regional qualifier, like the Northwest UK BFF show or whatever it was. Then that qualified me for the British, got to the British, got absolutely smoked, and looked around at like that level up again of physiques because of it being obviously a British standard rather than a regional, and was kind of scratching my head a bit like, well, what's the missing link here? And then after a few conversations, it became apparent that drugs were a thing. And that was then what kind of triggered me into like, okay, right, well, there must be another route to go down, because I'm not willing to go down the route of taking drugs. I was 10 years into lifting at that point. And I mean, I made more progress in that first 10 years than I have the second 10 years, just by the nature of what natural bodybuilding is. And I was like, well, I want to get my physique better, but for what I was aspiring towards, I'd kind of given myself enough proof that I didn't need to take drugs to do it. So I was kind of like, okay, right, well, there's more room to make more progress. I can make that progress that I want to make naturally. And because I was just chasing my kind of own ideal of what I wanted from my physique, it was kind of easy to just go, okay, go back to the drawing board, keep lifting. I wasn't off the back of that prep going, oh God, well, they've told me I need bigger shoulders, so I'm just going to go and train loads of shoulders. Like I didn't change my kind of angle on what I was trying to create out of my own physique based on feedback that I got. I was just like, right, well, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And if it fits into a different federation or a different category, cool. But I wasn't willing to change what I wanted to do training wise based on, oh, I might have a better chance of winning. That's the other side of like competing that can be a bit messy for people mentally. I think if you're trying to build a physique based on what you think will win rather than actually what do I want to look like, that's a funny place to be. Like, I know my calves aren't the best in the world. And if I got feedback that, oh, you need bigger calves because men's physique's now going to reward calves, I'm not going to go train calves 5 times a week because I don't give a fuck. Like, it's not in my overall ideal of what I want out of my physique. So, but I know other people who'll get their feedback and go, oh my God, well, my arms are shit because the judges told me, so I'm going to train them 4 times a week. Like, I think life's a bit too short for that personally, but it's probably why I've done so many federations, because then I've kind of just thought, right, where do I fit at certain points based on what I think is getting rewarded? And yeah, I hope that makes sense anyway.
Yeah, it does. It does. Over the years of you competing, what do you think has changed most within the men's physique division? So obviously, you said you were probably too big initially. Like, is it more of a size game now?
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you're in the natty side of men's physique or the non-natty. Like, there has definitely been an evolution in men's physique where like bigger has been getting rewarded more, but only if you still are able to present it in the right way. Like, if you come out big and as conditioned as anybody else on stage, but you pose like a bodybuilder, generally most federations will mark you down and say, well, that's not how we want it to be presented. When men's physique did initially come out, I think federations were so frightened of like offending the bodybuilders that's why they tried to have such a massive kind of disparity between the categories. But then as they kind of realized, okay, well, men's physique makes us a shit ton of money here. Let's like not worry too much about what the bodybuilders think and let men's physique kind of quite literally grow. And yeah, the guys have got bigger and bigger as time has gone on, but definitely when you get to that top level, like as kind of we found out at the Worlds, like structure is everything as well, because everybody's big and everybody's conditioned to some degree. Structure is that thing that is kind of the golden ingredient that you really need if you're going to be one of the very best.
Yeah.
You can't train that shit.
You can't. So there is a bit of a ceiling, I think, with especially natural bodybuilding of where you can take it. Because at some point, unless you are like the genetic elite, there is going to be a point where like you're not going to get any better. Like, yeah, you could build more muscle, but more muscle doesn't necessarily mean a better physique, or you could, push conditioning to another level. But again, that doesn't improve your structure at all. So you've almost reached your ceiling in terms of placing, and you're better off doing what you say that you do and building a physique that you're happy with and you're proud of.
I think so. And because I think the alternative is just getting into a really bad place mentally. And then generally people just fall out of love with lifting and the whole idea of kind of natural bodybuilding, because they've kind of gone down a route of doing it kind of for the wrong reasons. And that's where I kind of probably attribute my long-term kind of progress for doing it for 20 odd years. I've seen people come in further like down the line from where I've kind of begun, younger than me, and have got to like a higher level or whatever, whether they've become kind of relatively high level IFBB pros, and then they've kind of checked out of it because they're not in a good place mentally with it. So completely depends kind of what you're shooting for and why you're shooting for it, for how long you're going to be able to stay the course with it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, isn't it? The way I see competing is almost like a side quest. If your sole purpose, sorry, boys, your sole purpose is to obviously just compete, you just want to win and whatnot, and then you quickly realize, like, oh, you're not always going to win, or competing is not always going to go the way you want it to go. It's a surefire way to quickly, as you said, like fall out of love in the process. It's almost like, I don't know, like an analogy is like a car, right? If you love cars and whatnot, like you build your car because you love your car, you customize it because you love driving it and you love the process of that. You take it to like a racetrack every now and then, just, have a bit of fun with it. If you're only building a car just to win and you never ever win or something like that, like what's the point in having a fucking nice car, So you work on yourself and you develop yourself, and then that competing side of things is just like it's that side quest. It's that thing you do just to keep yourself going, just to keep yourself motivated, almost just to have a bit of fun, And I feel like as long as your intentions are to improve yourself and all the other benefits that like bodybuilding can bring to your life, it allows you to build a much healthier relationship with competing when you just see it as that side thing rather than like the sole focus of everything that you're doing. Because again, shit's not always going to go your way, and then when it stops going your way, that's when shit hits the fan. It's when people can really mentally struggle. It's like even like winning a pro card. Like what actually changes after you become a WNBF Pro or an IFBB Pro? Not really a lot, but again, if you've got the correct approach and mentality to it, it's an awesome thing, but it's not the end all be all at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I do think it would be really interesting to just kind of put like a complete ban on social media for like a couple of years and just see what impact that has on the amount of people that want to compete, the amount of people that think it's still cool to compete. You'd really find out what reasons people are competing for at that point. Even down to things like business as well. Like a lot of guys that, I mean, you two, I'm sure, feel it at certain points. Like there's a level of pressure that comes with like competing, and then if you're looking to obviously work with other guys that want to compete, well, a lot of that's dependent on like your success in that world and what you can showcase through social media within all that. So yeah, it's been interesting for me to obviously like live through the social media kind of come up and then see what difference that has made on the fitness industry as a whole, but definitely competing and that side of things. I think there's a lot of people that would like fall away from thinking it's as important as it is if there wasn't an Instagram or a YouTube to kind of validate themselves through with it. But we're never going to see that, are we?
Oh, I don't know. One day we're gonna have a big reset of the world. I can feel it. Social media is going to be banned, but bodybuilding's still gonna go ahead.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
I've had loads of questions. Tom, did you put up a questions box?
I didn't.
I know you didn't. That's why I asked. Terrible, honestly. I've had quite a lot of questions for Mr. Brisbourne. A lot of actually good questions. And Ian Talbot Balfour's asked a question that is not going to get us cancelled. So Ian's on a good run with it. Cheers, Ian. Appreciate it. First question. This is a tough one. From one of my clients, Andy, who's, again, a really dry individual. Maybe I just attract dry individuals. He says, who's stronger, blondes or brunettes?
Well, I suppose my natural hair color is still like a dirty blonde rather than a brunette. So I'll have to say, yeah, I'll be team blonde. I ain't the strongest at the minute, but yeah, I'm team.
You will be in like 2 months' time. Well, once all that food from New York's just soaked up into their muscles, you're going to be strong as an ox.
I don't really have an opinion on that. I don't know. Josh, what hair color are you, would you say? Would you like a mousy brown?
I'm brown haired, surely.
Yeah. I don't know.
Who's the strongest out of all of us?
Your hair goes a little bit light, doesn't it?
It does, but it's still brown.
Okay. What would you say, blondes or brunettes?
Well, I reckon I'm stronger than Charlie on most things.
Really?
Yeah. I think Charlie, we need to train together when you're not in the depths of prep. I've only trained with you once.
Yeah, we've done
Was it
ultra,
once?
haven't we?
Oh, I've trained with you twice, right? Once was
Oh, once in Rotherham.
2022.
Yeah, and then again
Yeah,
in Derby.
that's it. So you've been pretty dead every time. So yeah, we'll get an off-season session in. See how strong we are.
And then that will answer the question: who's
It
stronger?
will. It will.
All right, I look forward to
I want to come to your home gym as well. Obviously, I want to max out all your machines.
this is it as well. I think if we jump on my stuff, then I've got a much better chance because I'm very much accustomed to my stuff. And as soon as I go to a commercial gym, I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? It's all way heavier than it's meant to be. Like,
Atlantis. What a load of shit.
exactly.
What brand is most of your gym equipment?
It's OG Life Fitness. That
That's the one. Life Fitness.
Nice.
2006 to like 2010, that era, good era. When gym kit was like
It'll never
still
break.
metal. Yeah, didn't have like safety guards and stuff on it.
Oh yes. Fuck health and safety. What changed, if anything, going from amateur to pro? And that is from MSP_fit.
I think we've talked about it before. I think at amateur, you can kind of win shows based on having like a freaky body part, whether you've got massive bubbly shoulders or you've got a ridiculous midsection, and that might look really good on stage if you're surrounded by kind of like average level physiques. But when you get to pro level, everyone's expected to be kind of complete and everything to look good. And you kind of, I feel like you get judged more on if there is a weak point at all. Is there any chinks in your armor? Rather than like, if you just look like you've got an outstanding body part, it's just going to throw your balance off and someone else is going to beat you that is just more well-rounded across all areas. But yeah, pro level, it is a big step up. Like I've done obviously the 3 pro shows this year, the UK, the German, and then the Worlds, and like there ain't a bad physique on stage. There's
No.
everybody is of a level, right? So there is
Yeah.
a definite step up.
Yeah, I think like, especially with natural bodybuilding, they don't give out loads of pro cards for the sake of giving them out. You've genuinely got to win a national title to get your pro card or an amateur world title. And there's no shitters that win national shows or, obviously amateur worlds. So if you go from, smoking the amateurs to not getting a place in the pros, it doesn't mean that you're shit. It just means that there's just another level, and you've either got to gear your training towards whatever it is that gets rewarded in the pros, or you're just happy competing, and you try and find your enjoyment from other things like the actual process of bodybuilding. It doesn't have to all be based on results, but equally your opinion of someone as a bodybuilder doesn't have to be based on results either. Like, someone's got a pro card, they're fucking good.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed, 100%.
There's obviously quite a lot of questions on working with me. So Martin Lamont, shout out to Martin, love you, Martin. Martin has asked, what's the biggest benefit you found to working with a coach this time round?
Efficiency, accountability, structure. Like for me, kind of coming into this year competing, I was only, I think, going to do it if I did bring a coach on board, because I've never ever worked with a coach before up until this point, which I was kind of quite proud of. And I know other people in a similar position are, but then just because you're proud of it, it doesn't mean you should never kind of look to change it. And
yeah,
it's just about finding the right person. And for me, like, again, me and Josh have talked about this kind of quite at length, like finding the person that you kind of match up with personally, as well as like someone who actually knows their shit is quite difficult. Like, because you need both of those things. Like I find a lot of stuff that goes on in the kind of bodybuilding industry quite cringy, and just I wouldn't gel well being coached by a lot of people within it. Even if kind of they know the nuts and bolts of what I need to do to kind of get the best out of my physique. So that was why Josh kind of made sense to me. At least my impression was that he was a relatively normal individual that kind of understood the way the world spins, and without just being bodybuilding and nothing else. Like, so that's good for Josh to know, because then it kind of shows, well, what he's putting out through his socials and whatever. Like, it shows like he is a normal guy that does normal stuff, but just happens to really enjoy bodybuilding as well.
So basically, Charlie, you're saying you wanted to be able to prep and have some pints on the side as well.
You know what? Fun fact: I've never bought a pint in my life, ever.
What?
Never, ever. Like, not that I won't drink. I like a vodka, I like a gin, I like a port, but beer, nah, not interested. Like, just
Why are you
I think
working together? Jesus, maybe you're not.
I
a
know,
match
it's the
made in
one thing
heaven.
that we clash on. I was trying to get him to have pints the night before the Worlds, and he was just like, no, stay away.
What about spiced rum, Charlie?
yeah, I could get on board with that. I mean, I wouldn't get overly excited about it, but I can. I've been to university. I've drunk most things, like, but yeah, it's not something that I could give you some horrible stories about stuff like that. But for
I'm
another
sure you could.
football
Did you join like
initiations,
Did you
dirty
join like
Yeah.
the football society at uni? Did you
Yeah.
join like any sporting society?
I can remember one dirty pint I had. I will tell you about this one because this one's disgusting. This was for my like 21st birthday, and it just was a thing. You'd have like a dirty pint made for you for your birthday that particular year. And mine was like, because they knew I wasn't really fussed on like alcohol, they made it out of more just disgusting household things. You know, like if you use a George Foreman grill for like a week and you've got all the kind of residue of everything that's come out of it, they literally
Oh
poured
my God.
into the dirty pint. So you got like a head like that on it. That was
Oh
like
my God.
a kind of
Like
residue of
burnt
like
meat.
4 or 5 different fatty cuts of meat. Yeah, that was in there.
Definitely carcinogenic.
There was some Tabasco around the rim of the glass, so basically you burn your lips at the same time as well. So that was fun.
Dreamy.
Yeah, Ray Nephews. You ever drunk that?
What?
Have you ever drunk Ray Nephews?
Never heard of it.
Google it. It's pretty disgusting. I can't remember exactly what the percentage is, but like it's something like
Ray Nephew rum.
what's the
Making
percent?
rum.
Is it 60% or something ridiculous?
70%.
70%. There you go.
70%.
Oh no,
Yeah, it's like
63%, but still.
I've not seen it
That's
in a shop.
fucked. 63%. That's
Yeah.
vile. It's in Tesco's apparently.
Yeah, that fucks you up real bad, especially when it's like mixed with George Foreman fat. Lethal.
That's vile. That's vile. Where did you go to uni, Charlie?
Up in Chester.
Oh yes, I do remember.
Very nice city. Very good nights out and some good memories from up there. But anyway, we can talk about dirty pints another time. Hit me with another question.
What's your personal highlights of this season?
The Worlds was amazing, to be honest. Like, not just for the sake of the competing, but the whole experience. Obviously, spending time with the boys. Obviously, seeing Martin do well as well. And then obviously going off to New York after. Like, I wasn't really sure if I'd enjoy that, but it was definitely an experience. And I would go back. Yeah, that was think that's got to obviously be up there. The British show, I think, as much as like lots of people bitched and moaned about it being a long day and whatever, like it was still a really good day and a really good show. And that, obviously that was my first kind of stepping on stage as a pro, a WNBF pro. But then the PCA shows were really good as well. So I can't pick one particular thing, but I would say like none of it would have been as good of an experience if I hadn't been working with Josh, like in the least cringy way possible. Like a big part of the enjoyment of the process was kind of down to, well, how we'd done it. And then obviously the experience of working together and then going out to the various shows that we'd done where Josh was there. Obviously we did the PCA show where me and Jake were competing earlier in the year. That was a really good day. So, yeah, I mean, I couldn't pinpoint any one because, I mean, results-wise, what we got second, third, fourth. So it's not like if I'd gone and won the Worlds, then I'd have to say, obviously, oh, yeah, that's the one. But the experience has been good all the way through and the results are fairly similar.
Yeah. I think one of my like personal highlights of this year was at the PCA Midlands when your daughter was shouting for you and like, you know, right at the front of the stage looking up at you. I just thought that is such a lovely thing to see. And like, you know, for you having your family there, it must be such a lovely feeling.
Yeah, and she was watching the Worlds as well on the live stream, and like there was like 15 of us, and she's two and a half now. But she was like, she pointed me out straight away, and my missus has got like videos of her kind of like shouting at the TV and all that kind of thing. So yeah, that'll be cool to look back on one day for sure. But yeah, when you've got things like that going on in your life, that's what kind of does give you kind of perspective as well as to, yeah, I've loved competing and I wouldn't say it's not important, but it does give you perspective on kind of everything else outside of it as well.
Mm-hmm. I think it is interesting there. Like obviously, like you almost like struggle to pick out a bit that you feel is like the highlight because I feel like you just enjoy the process, mate. And again, it's like you do get to that point where with competing where again you're doing it for the right reasons, you're doing it for the other benefits that it does bring to your lifestyle, such as like appreciation for other things. And it's like for me personally, what I've found is like one thing that I get most excited for with prep is just like I love the fact of the community that you're like now part of, the people that you meet. You know, I wouldn't be friends with Josh, or wouldn't be on this podcast with yourself. Like all those other things that journey has brought along with it is almost like the highlight for me. Like winning is like fucking sick, and as you said, like yeah, if you won the world, so you'd be saying yeah, that's like one of the biggest parts because obviously that is the work paying off. But like when you can focus on all the other things that it brings to you, like it just makes it that much better. Like I'm just excited to like prep again, to be like chatting to people, meeting people, talking about the prep on here. Like that's I feel like that those are the things that people don't really expect to become the highlights, but they actually do. You know?
Yeah. 1,000% agree.
50 minutes in-ish. This is the most common question that I've been asked. I think I've been asked 6 times. Is your time with competitive bodybuilding done?
Are these people who might compete against me that are just trying to fish for whether...
No.
Again,
they wish that they could compete against you, bro.
Are we done? Is he done?
Oh, please be done, Charlie. You're giving me nightmares.
I mean, I would say it's more likely than unlikely, mainly because in the current position I'm in now, after kind of doing what we've done this year competitively, like I don't know what there is left for me to do that's going to kind of give me a big enough kick and a big enough benefit to kind of outweigh the effort that needs to go in to gain more out of competing. This year to compete was all about kind of, obviously I'd got my pro card in 2022 and I'd and ahed about was I ever going to do anything with it. But ultimately I was like, you know what? I'm leaving something on the table here if I don't go and test myself at that level and see just what I could do. And again, me and Joshua talked about it. I'd much rather regret doing something than regret not doing it. And I've kind of had those questions answered to a degree by this year, and seeing where I've kind of stacked up and what the gaps are in terms of whether there's any more room to progress further down the line with things. So I don't know what would have to change for me to get excited enough and think there's more to squeeze out of competing now to make it worthwhile to push on and do more. Like 10 years in this kind of part of the industry is a long go at it. Like I say, being kind of getting closer to master's age is not a good place to be if you want to stay in the open, because they do want people who are kind of relatively fresh faced and don't look haggard and like they're on the decline. And like as you get closer to like 40, there is an inevitability that it's going to get a bit tougher, like for the sake of lots of things. I don't know whether going into masters at this point is something that would excite me enough to go into it. I get more excited about the idea of making progress in other areas of my life as it stands right here and now. Saying all this, I thought in 2018 I wouldn't step on stage again, just for where I was at with life and where I'd got to. So as of right now, it's somewhat retirement time, I would say.
I think you've said everything. Like, you've said everything right. You know, if there's nothing more to gain, then it really does take a lot to kind of get excited or G'd up for a prep. Like, one of the questions is what's been the financial gain of doing this year's prep? And I think,
well, I'll tell you right now, like this year I've won, what was it? 300 or 400 quid. And that's
400,
400, I think. Yeah. And that's the first time I've won anything in terms of money over 10 years worth of competing. And even if I was just to stack up this year in terms of like entry fees, federation costs, TANs, travel, I think I'd worked coaching, yeah, tax deduction. Then we're looking at like, I don't know, 7 grand, give or take. And it obviously costs you a bit more when you get to kind of pro level, or if you're going to go and compete internationally. But then if I was to stack that up on all the other money it's cost me over the other years, yeah, it's not been where financials are concerned, it ain't a great return on investment, that 300 quid.
It's an expensive hobby.
Yeah, of course it is. But going and drinking pints in the pub's an expensive hobby as well, but it doesn't really fucking get you anywhere. So
Yeah.
I pick poison.
I feel like one way to spin it is, if you were a online coach for competitors, then as a side benefit, that could then financially, improve yourself or put yourself in a better position if you capitalized on that. But for yourself, you don't have an interest in that. So even more so, it's not going to financially gain you,
Yeah,
I mean, that's a business move that a lot of people go through as well, is they want to be a prep coach. They love the idea of that. So then they try and use their prep as a means of cross-pollinating into their business. And I feel like that is a fucking slippery slope if that's your sole focus,
Yeah, well, that's again where people end up kind of then prepping for like the wrong reasons. And it's like, I have no doubt that me doing what I've done in competitions has helped at times with my business. But if anything, it's just been kind of a good way of showing clients, look, I have to do this to get in this shape. I'm asking you to do a fraction of what I'm doing just to be a bit less fat and have a little bit more muscle. It ain't that hard. And to also show them it's like, it's not a glorious place to be where like you feel fantastic for being silly low body fat and having that bit more muscle and whatever. Like hormonally, like I'm in the gutter. Like I've had all my Medicheck stuff back and things are not looking good. So
What did they come back at?
It's not looking good, bruv.
What did they come back at?
fucking 0.00 something or other, like on, was it the free testosterone or yeah,
Yeah.
we're in the red. Put it that way, we're in the fucking red. Like, and being able to show normal clients though that want to achieve like somewhat normal results, that actually kind of striving for an unreasonably lean physique, like that you might see like people present through like bodybuilding and whatever, like it's not a reasonable place to expect to get to and to stay at. And
Yeah.
they see me go through the process of my prep, and that's been quite valuable as well, where kind of long-term clients are concerned. So there's definitely been some payoff business-wise for me kind of doing what I've done, but not anywhere near the degree of people that are actually kind of looking for prep clients that then go, oh shit, I actually need to compete and do well now.
Yeah. I think like the biggest thing that a prep can do for anyone, right, regardless of what you're wanting to get a return financially, is just what it does for you on like a mindset front. Like you end up so process driven and so, in such a solid routine that your mind becomes, you don't think about what you're doing on the day to day because you just do it, and then your mind starts thinking about other things. So like obviously for us on prep, me and Tom like started the podcast at the back end of our prep because our minds were probably in that place of, we've got momentum, we could do something with this. Like you've ended up doing that yourself, Charlie, with like launching your own online, or rebranding, relaunching your online coaching thing into from Brisbane Fit to the Fit Father Club. That is what prep can do for you. It just gives you momentum, and it can transcend into every other part of your life.
100%.
Absolutely.
So, Charlie, the Fit Father Club, tell us all about it and what the plan is with it.
Well, I don't really know too much at the minute, to be honest, Josh. I'm just letting it kind of evolve into its own thing. I've literally just like bought the domain and got the Instagram handle for it. And the idea really is just that Brisbane Fit has always been kind of a generalized kind of PT approach, I suppose. And somewhat of it has been kind of just my personal stuff going on with competing and day to day. Fit Father Club's going to be more of a page that and a profile I push more centered around helping dads that are in a similar position to me, typically dads that have got young kids and pretty much are in a position that I'm in. So it's an easy thing for me to push when it's just kind of documenting, right, well, this is how I'm doing what I'm doing. Not so much to the degree that I've obviously been doing it with prep, but just generally like, right, how am I managing the nutrition side of things, the lifting side of things, the difficulties that come with not having much time, not having much energy, trying to be as efficient and as proactive as you can be to kind of keep on top of that side of things. And yeah, trying to build, I think there's a lot out there for like mums and the mummy fitness side of things, but where kind of dads are concerned, there isn't quite as much. That's where it'd been cool kind of following Tom's boy, Zach, in his prep as well, with the same kind of thing. And obviously Martin with you, Josh, same kind of thing. Like, so there's lots of dads out there that are showing it can be done, like, and even to the degree of prepping to compete. But most people just don't need to obviously go to those lengths. They just need to pick out a few of the fundamentals that the dads out there that are in good shape are doing well. And some of that comes from training. Some of it, like I say, comes from food. Some of it comes from just having decent lifestyle design and managing kind of what's going on at home, and kind of simple stuff like integrating your step count into your kind of day-to-day, week-to-week family activities rather than doing 4 or 5 things of cardio a week. Like, and
Yeah.
I'm definitely naturally working with more and more clients that are like that as time has gone on. So it kind of makes sense to kind of push a bit of an online movement around that side of things. And yeah, it's something that coaching wise, I'm sure I'll kind of not fully rebrand, but it's something I will offer something specifically out to that demographic of dads out there. Like we talked about it, Josh, even something simple like most coaching is like week to week check-ins, and that's what I do typically with my online coaching. But I know from working with plenty of dads, they don't necessarily need or have time to be checking in with you once a week. So offering them a service which means they don't need to do a weekly check-in like on the button makes their life easier. But still obviously providing online support as and when they need it. Fit Father Club, it'll just be interesting and quite exciting to let it evolve as time goes on. At the minute, it is literally just a domain and Fit Father Club as an Instagram account. And now that prep's on the back burner, that is what will be pushed. And that's where I'm going to get my kicks from moving forward, growing that and seeing where it goes.
Just work hard at it, mate. See what happens. I feel like that's your vibe. Is like you find something you like, you just work hard at it, and then eventually, if you work hard at it for long enough, it'll probably pay off.
Yeah, and you'll enjoy the process, which everyone obviously talks about as being like this big cliche thing, but it is absolutely like the thing that is most important. Like if you don't find enjoyment in the process of doing whatever it is that you're doing, then I don't know what the reason is really in the long term of bothering. Like you talk about like getting to the pinnacle of like natural bodybuilding, WNBF worlds and whatever. Like if you don't enjoy the process of everything that goes into that, and then you are kind of fortunate enough to go and win a title, it won't mean enough to have justified all the effort of doing everything that needs to go in to do that for years and years and years. So enjoying the process is everything.
Absolutely. Tom, any more questions? I feel like we've basically answered every question that I have been asked.
There's going to be a lot of same ones, isn't there? So if there's no more questions, mate, then...
There's some good ones there.
Yeah, very good. Nice one, listeners.
Right. Shall we leave it there, boys?
Yeah, I reckon so. Charlie, thank you for making the time to squeeze us in this morning. Do you know, Tommy, he cancelled like multiple clients for this.
Oh, don't say that. Did you actually?
And you turned up late still. What a dickhead.
I know. Oh, I was locked out of the house. Come on. Give me a break. Sorry, Charlie, mate.
I've got a client coming in about 15 minutes who I've pushed back specifically to make sure I could fit you boys in. But
well, we really do appreciate you, mate.
No, I appreciate jumping on, and you've both got an open invite to come up to Shrewsbury, and you can sample the Brisbourne
Mecca.
Father Club Mecca. Yeah, come and train here. We'll put you up for the night. I'll feed you. We'll train.
Oh my god!
Time.
Charlie will actually feed you as well. When I was in Boston, I didn't do any cooking. It was like Charlie just filled what he is, a dad. He just filled the dad role and looked after me. It was really like
got an insight
nice.
To what it's like to be Annabella, just waiting on the king.
Oh God! Yeah, pretty much.
But no, it was a good time.
I was ready to compete. Yeah. No,
yeah,
really good.
Helps up to Shrewsbury as and when it suits, and I'm sure it'll be a good time anyway.
We'll get it arranged. We'll make it happen, boys.
Right. Well, Tom, do you want an outro?
Go on in. Right, people. Thank you very much for listening again. This is episode number 77, I think it is. We're on way to that 100. But Charlie, thank you very much for joining us, brother. Where can the people find you?
Charlie Brisbourne, Instagram. Fit Father Club, Instagram. I'm just about to hit 100 followers on Fit Father Club, so come on.
Get it up, people. Get it up. Any of you dads out there, or dads to be, go raid it. All right, go raid it. But yeah, thank you very much for listening, people. Everyone that is not subscribed, anyone that engages with the podcast, and you're being lazy, you're not hitting that button, hit that button. All right, because we're on the way to, what's it, Josh, like 400? Something like that?
Yeah. 361 subscribers, nearly 400 followers on Instagram.
We may have to cheat the system and run like a bit of a giveaway by the end of the year just to get to that 400.
Oh, yeah. Let's do that. We love a giveaway.
Hit subscribe, people. Catch you in the next one. Boys, thank you very much. Catch you in a bit.
Ciao.
See ya.
Bye-bye.